Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Carmina, and today I am joined by the lovely Melissa. Hi, Melissa.
Hi.
And Melissa, she is a human design professional. She's been working her whole life in education, but for the past 7 years, she's been really thoroughly diving deep into human design. And we are here today to talk to you about the fifth line and Britney Spears because we both read the autobiography of Britney Spears, The Woman in Me. I'm going to show it. Yes.
Mm.
So if you are interested, not necessarily in Britney as a singer, like her songs or whether you like them or not, her life is really a perfect example of a fifth line life and the pluses and the minuses that go with it. So Melissa is also a 5-1. So I thought who better qualified and also a 5-1. So welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. Yeah, I can say a word or two about being a heretical investigator.
So I'm gonna share the her chart, and Melissa also highlighted some passages, some quotes from the book that we are going to see and illustrate our conversation with. Let's see here. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
So she's also a quad left like you.
Yeah.
So what would you say like the main striking thing about the fifth line would be when you look at her chart and when you read the book, what would be like the first thing that you noticed?
Well, oftentimes what happens for me is when I do just pull up a body graph and I just look at it, there are things that just jump right out. Um, I got really curious, you being a 1-3, she does have a lot of she has some third lines there, particularly in the nodes, but she's got a lot of fifth lines and a lot of sixth lines. So, um, she really is a transpersonal being. I mean, I can imagine with this open G. I have a defined G, but I can imagine with an open G that she didn't really feel like part of this world in a sense. I'm a projector, so I get how that, what that feels like. Um, but she's here to be a messenger and she showed up and grew up in a family. I mean, we can dive into all of those details, but where she was on a journey from a very young age to universalize a message. So in a lot of ways, the profile for me is so interesting in human design. I love the profile. And especially now, having read the memoir and just really the details of her design and how they just came out in the book. I mean, over and over again, she was talking about her reputation. She was talking about getting blamed for things. She was, and then she's got this storytelling channel, this 5611, I mean, that's what she did in her work again and again. So, yeah, I guess that's how I would start. And I would also say, what a survivor this girl is, right? Like just
Yeah,
that, look at that spleen,
yeah,
just lit up. And she survived a lot,
yes,
according to her memoir. It's astounding. It's just, it saddens me on
yes.
one hand. And she's alive to tell about it, right?
Yes, it's interesting that you pointed out she has a lot of fifth lines. Actually, the fifth lines are the most lines. She has eight, 5 lines, seven, 6 lines. And it's interesting that she has only one four lines and only one, two lines. So that's the least of her profile. That also says something like about
Yeah.
networking
Yeah.
and I remember she says that actually she was not like a super you know extroverted person. She's more focused on her work. She has
Yeah.
that 1648 talent channel. She's very enthusiastic, like a good generator of doing her work. She just wanted to be left alone to do her work.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
she also wanted to do her work in a way that she liked.
Yeah.
She explains in the later chapters of the book when she was in the Las Vegas residency that she was forced to do the same routine for 10 or 13 years without any changes, and there was no creativity, and she was really suffering. She felt very dehumanized, like she felt her creativity was stripped away from her and her life force. She was just on survival mode, going and going, and that's very sad to read.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and the other thing that just because of this, the way this family it seems to have used her, and what also jumped out at me was that gate 14, she does have resources. It's unconscious in her design, so she doesn't necessarily mentally realize that, but what a resourceful little human she was. And there must be someone in her family, probably her dad, or, that has gate two. I mean, they pick up on those resources and gonna use that and go their direction, not hers, right? So, yeah, very creative and resourceful human.
Yes. And it's also very interesting in her chart. She has the 5734, which is, empowered intuition. So
Yeah.
she had a feeling for things. She had a feeling for what's next. She just had a good intuition about how to do when she was led to her own devices and to collaborate the people she wanted to collaborate with. She was doing very things that were very picked up by the world. Like people often put down pop music, that it's easy, that it's simple. But pop music relates to so many people. That's why it's so popular, because there are feelings and emotions that all of us have at some point, and that's why it's so relatable. It doesn't have to be something super elevated intellectual to be able to relate to people. And I think that's also the power of the five, to be able to universalize. And
Hmm.
what I think is interesting is that other people that are mentioned in the book, they are also five ones, like Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera. So many five ones that we look up to, and we expect them to, tell our stories or talk about our emotions that we have. And, we have a little moment with them by identifying. And, that is what art is about, like just having this unsaid connection
Yeah.
with people.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was thinking too about, again, the words that she would use when she was writing around, like reputation and whatnot. And I have a good friend who's a 5'1" friend of mine, and Chris, and she talks a lot about reputation management. And because there is this paranoia that comes, and you can feel the paranoia also in Brittany's words and her writing. Um, which I mean, from a fellow 5'1", I mean, I was having this visceral paranoia with her too, reading. Um, and yeah, so I think that that's what she was, it was constantly trying to manage her reputation out in the world. And I was going to read this one particular quote that she said that was just so amazing. Um, she talked about this was really early in her career, and she says, that's the moment in my life when I had the most passion for music. It was like the first song, her first really, big hit. She said, I was unknown and I had nothing to lose if I messed up. There was so much freedom in being anonymous, and I can relate to that. I could look out at the crowd who'd never seen me before and think, you don't know who I am yet. It was kind of liberating that I didn't really have to care if I made mistakes. Oh my gosh, Carmina, I can relate to that. Like, I just love to just stay in my house and then go out and be with random people. Like, I just got back from this trip and there was like people didn't know me except the one friend that I was with. And it's just a whole different world. I love that. And then I like to come back to my little, behind the window, as Ra has it on in the house metaphor in human design. Um, so yeah, I just can really, yeah, I wanted to share that reputation management, and it's so great to have complete strangers.
Yes, and about that, I remember at some point in the book, she was being judged for what she was wearing, like that she was being too sexual. But she said, I didn't ask to be a role model. I didn't know that I had to be a role model. Why are these people expecting me to be a role model for their children?
Yeah.
Because also her record company, her management asked her to say that she was a virgin, although, she had been living with Justin Timberlake for a year in the same house. And she just didn't ask for this responsibility to be put on her shoulders. And like
That's right.
people to really hate her and put her down, people that didn't know her because she was, I don't know, a bad role model. So,
Because they didn't live up, she did not live up to their expectations of this projection field, right? Like, oh, she's gonna be like this. I mean, another like real recent example right now, I just read over the weekend, Taylor Swift, another 5'1", her and Travis, they're all over the news, and Travis is now he's batting against the reputation. Like he's not focused on football and all this stuff. And it's just, I mean, it's hilarious if it wasn't so sad, right? Yeah, sad.
Yeah, in recent news, I also just made a video about Lana Del Rey. She got married like a week ago, and her husband is like an alligator guide. So people are like, "What? Why would she marry this guy? This guy has this political views. Like, why? How can she do this?" Like, I mean, I thought Lana was a 5'1", but actually she's a 3'5". So,
No, still five, you get
yes,
that fifth line body. And in some ways, I feel like the fifth line personality at least could, kind of stand up for itself some of the time. I mean,
yeah,
Britney was doing her best to stand up for
yes,
herself, but she was still a child for the biggest part of her life, right? So
yes,
far, she's still young.
yeah.
Um, but that fifth line body's a whole nother story. I mean, I have a grandson that has a fifth line body, and yeah, it's kind of it's something to watch too. Yeah.
Another interesting thing about Britney's bio is it's also the fact that as a woman, I felt she had it much harder. Like we have, like she's also saying in her bio, there are people that were on heroin, like these, especially male rock stars on heroin, on cocaine, and they were not treated as badly as her. Like she didn't do any hard drugs. She was like sober. She just took some over-the-counter, nutrition supplements and things like that. And she was forced to be in rehab.
Yes. Yes.
So
I was just looking here because there was something she spoke about another woman.
about Christina, probably.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it here, but it was basically that same kind of thing that I realized how powerful it can be when women defy expectations. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was one of her, one of her when she was in the Mickey Mouse Club and stuff, and one of her singer-songwriter that she really admired and stuff was going through some things. So she spoke about
Mhm.
that, and that's when she said, that it really dawned on her how when women speak up and defy expectations, it's powerful. I mean, that's the word she uses, powerful, which is good. I mean, we're all trying to do that, right? I mean, we're in this kind of shifting of times right now where we've had this patriarchal structure for, eons, and it's moving away. And so we are like right at the cusp of some really, changing times, which makes it difficult for women. It
I
does, because we all want to speak up. And when we do, it's like slam down.
Yes. You can't, and also you can't be too pretty, you can't be too ugly, you can't be nothing. Like nothing
That's
is
right.
good. Like,
That's right.
it's
Yeah.
it's like that. And yeah, for Britney, I think also she mentions many times that other people in the industry and her colleagues in the Mickey Mouse Club and even her exes, like her ex Justin Timberlake and her ex Kevin Federline, they all used her, to make a name or to increase their name, or somehow there was something to talk about. When they were talking about her, people were listening. So
Yeah.
that was like really, it really rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah. 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 She got used. I mean, she was a commodity for sure. Which is just it's it's sad. And that's what, the fact that she's on the cover of that book, the way that she is, and talking about being a woman and showing her womanness
Yes,
I love it. I
yes.
love it.
And the
I
book
think
being
it's
called A
fantastic.
Woman in Me, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yes.
fantastic. Yeah.
Girl power, woman power, yes.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a difficult time. I mean, it's really, I've gone through my own stuff around, kind of fighting the patriarchal structures. Um, because it's not an individual thing. I think you mentioned that before, it's not like either of us hate men. I mean,
No,
it's not about that.
definitely not.
You said that. You said it much better than I just did. But yeah, no, it's a big collective thing that has just been, going on for a long, long time. And
Yes,
I remember talking to my ex-husband at one point early in our relationship. We'd listened to a podcast, and I said something about I was listening, sitting in the car listening to this podcast with him, and I just looked at him and I said, it must be really difficult to be a man in this day and age. And I think that's true.
that's
I
also
do.
true. That is also
Yeah.
true because they try to figure out how to interact and how to not offend and how not to hurt. So it's
Yeah.
also not easy. Yes,
Yeah.
for
It's just
sure.
it's a confusing time, confusing. And I
Yes,
think confusion is not another thing we could say about Brittany. I mean, I'm sure talk about gaslighting and stuff like that.
yes,
Those, like she got put into mental institutions. And I mean, she
yes,
probably at some point, she didn't necessarily dive too deep into that, but probably thought she was crazy, you
yes, of
know?
course. If people with an open identity, people around you telling you that you're not okay, the
Yeah,
people that you are close to that you should trust, your own family,
yeah,
trying to make a buck and another
yeah,
buck out of you. So then who can you trust? Who can you trust?
exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
yes,
Yeah. And I would say too, you just use that word family. I don't know. Ra always talks about, the dark humor. And I think it is a little bit kind of darkly humorous that fifth lines come in with, I mean, we got to be born, so we got to come out of some mom somewhere.
yes,
And we are in a family. But we're not here for the family. We're here for the strangers.
yes,
And so, you live all that growing up time, little kids conditioned, to be about the family. And and I have been pretty tribal incarnation cross. So in some ways, that is also kind of a joke because I'm, designed to have some family influence. Except the older I've gotten, once my children were grown and gone, and my, the family that I created, the Penta family I created, that was fairly successful in my life. But now that all that, like it's now I'm just out here flailing. When I mean impacting or, influencing strangers, I hope in my, daily interactions.
You are
but yeah,
doing it
Brittany was
now.
not supposed to be part of that family. Sorry, I
Yeah.
talked over you. What'd you say?
No, no, no. I said you are doing that now. You are influencing
Yeah,
strangers.
that's right. As we speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what do you think is the difference between like because you are also a quad left 5-1 person and like a non-quad left 5-1 person?
Sorry, there was some background noise. I hope you didn't hear that. Um, oh yeah, the quad left. Um, I have to speak to this from my observations of other quad lefts. Oh, I was going to talk about my grandson, but he's also a projector. So I think the focus of the quad left is on one level, and then I'm a projector, which is on another level. So I think about myself as being very, very intensely focused. So I can get thrown off, and even there was some background noise, and you were asking me a question, and I'm like, okay, what, I'm trying to do both. It's difficult. It's
Mm,
difficult. Um, so whereas I watch rightness and rightness, you're sponging things up. And so because because Brittany is so splenic and she's quad left. So like me being a projector that's quad left, like double focus, I could see her like in the now, so focused on this one thing, not thinking about the future necessarily, even though she does have 57. But she is really focused and probably had no conception that someday her family was going to throw her in a mental
yeah.
institution. She was just doing her thing, every
Yes.
single day as hard as she could, loving what she did, as you referred to. Um, Maybe in some ways her leftness, protected her
Yeah.
also, you know.
Yeah. The
It
leftness.
amped up that survival quality,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah,
The leftness is more narrowing, like narrowing the focus in a way. So she was just like, she was not thinking like, oh, now I have to protect myself from this and that and this. Now I'm just gonna, do my routines, do my choreography day
that's
by
right.
day, next concert, next this, next that. And yeah, I think she was just and setting goals. Like since she was very little, she set the goal to be somebody.
Mhm. Yeah.
And she did. She still is.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Indeed. Yeah, and I also think I have another human design friend that's been in design for a really long time, and um she's created some resources around human design, and I've collaborated with her on the creation of some of those things. But she's talked about the rightness. There is a quality of the rightness really needing to be taken care of, because it doesn't have that same kind of focus. And it depends, of course, where your right arrows are and all of those things. I mean, it's the whole variable, it's not just one. But it is so clear to me, like Brittany is so capable of taking care of herself. Now, herself might not be what everyone expects, and she might be a little crazy, by standards, by someone else's standards, but she can take care of herself. She
She
can.
definitely can take care of herself. Like, what's interesting is that they put her a conservatorship on her. They didn't allow her to see her children, but they made her work every day, day by day. For that, she was good for working. So she was
That's right.
normal enough and sane enough to work and that, but to see her children and to make her own decisions about spending her money that she earned with so
Right.
much hard work, it was not enough. So yeah,
Yeah.
as a left, she was definitely taking care of herself and she was also taking care of other people, not just
Yeah.
herself.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And maybe that, I don't know, do you have something to say about her gate 50? I mean, there's she has half the channel of taking care of offspring, Gate 50, line five,
In the
begin.
past, so the children were assigned with her husband because she, shaved her head, whatever, like somehow. But Kanye West is bipolar and he can see his children no problem. And there are other celebrities with mental issues, especially male or drug issues or addiction issues, and they were not treated as harshly as she
Yeah.
was treated. So.
Yeah.
That 50, definitely. She wants to take care. She wants to instill values. I think she also wrote the book for her children to see
Yeah.
how her life was and what her values were and to know her better as a woman.
Yeah.
So that's
Absolutely.
like a legacy for her,
Yeah. And
writing the
it's in
book.
Jupiter, right? I mean, it's
Uh,
in Jupiter.
Yes, it's Jupiter,
Yeah.
also fifth line.
I mean, she's abundant in that regard.
Yes, she
Wow.
has her values. She's always like, she does have strong values. She says, like if I don't know someone, I call them ma'am. Like she's very polite.
Yes.
She
Yeah.
has the manners, like she calls them the Southern manners.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's very careful with that. She also has the 19, which is principles. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, she also, the other thing that really struck me is she talked about how empathetic she is, and she said something about like I think I can feel what somebody's feeling in Nebraska. That kind of stuck out to me because she is this gentle, kind, maybe not gentle is not probably the right word, but I mean she's a kind little Southern girl,
yes,
before she got like blown up into this whatever she got blown up into. And she is empathetic, and she's got this dangling gate 6 here, which is just and I have that too, in a much more prickly solar plexus than she has. But yeah, there's going to be conflict, there's going to be friction, and it's necessary. And there's not a lot. Maybe it's only her gate 19 that is pushing against that
mm,
emotional center. She probably has a very cool emotional being, which also freaks people out, right? Because they want people to be like whatever, crying and
yeah,
upset about things and, just emotional, the waves and stuff, which some people are designed to be that way and other people aren't. And
yeah.
so there was probably some of that going with her too, you know?
Yeah, definitely the open, that undefined, almost fully open emotional center can give empathy to other people's
Yeah.
feelings. And because she grew up in a very dramatic situation with fights all the time, I'm sure with that open emotional center, it impacted her a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It was not fun. I also have the six, by the way, but I
Hmm.
have a defined emotional center. But the six
Yeah.
is there, like hanging there.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that I see about the 6 with other people that have it in a defined center, or myself and other people that have it in an open, undefined center, um, there's this variability on, it's like an aperture. It's either open to intimacy or not. It's
Mm.
open or it's not. It's open or it's not. And when it's in an undefined center like hers and like mine, it's inconsistent. I imagine someone with a defined solar plexus like yourself, like there's a much more, at least you can feel into it. It's, oh, there it is again, up there. And ours is like shocking for me sometimes. It's like, wow, I thought that I wanted to be close to someone. And then it's like, nope, not happening,
Yeah, I
which comes
remember.
across as cold.
Yeah, 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 and also people in general expecting, especially fives, because they get so projected on to be one dimensional. Like she can't be
Yes,
nice, but then wow, she's so sexual, but then she's like this, but then she can't go once partying with her friends after being pregnant for 2 years. No, we
right.
can't have that. Like,
Yeah.
that just it just really bothers me that she has to be one dimensional, and even that one dimension is not good. Like no matter what, there is still gonna be like the tabloids. I don't think they ever apologize for hunting her down and making her. I'm sure what the tabloids wrote influenced the judge to give decisions like, oh my God, she's a party girl. Like even my husband, who doesn't know anything about these pop stars, he's like, oh yeah, Britney Spears, she was like a party girl. She went out once or like very few times, and then when she did go out, she got photographed. She was with other fives. She was with Paris Hilton, who's also a five. So then,
Yeah,
the reputation was
that's
formed.
right. That's right. Yeah, and the fives that I know, I mean, I clearly don't know her, as on a personal level, but the fives that I know, and I'm a projector, and these famous people that I've observed, it's the same as my little life in the world, which is I am at home doing my thing, studying, doing my thing, whatever, until it's time to go out. And then I go out and I do that thing, and then I come back. It's just that is the story of my life, you know? And I imagine that she was the same. What you just described is that she went out, she was having her fun, but then followed and like yeah, I don't know. I cannot even imagine what that kind of life must have been like to
No,
just be
like she's super
terrorized. It's
strong.
terrorizing.
Yes, terrorizing. And she's like super strong to have survived that. I'm sure
Yes.
there is trauma left, and there's like in her body and in her mind, even
Yeah.
for taking all these medications that she didn't have to take.
Yes.
Because later on her lawyers and everyone said like, she wasn't even allowed to get her own lawyer, which even like hardened criminals that do, uh, drug trafficking or human trafficking, even them can take their own
Yeah.
lawyer. But Britney Spears, because she shaved her head once, oh my God, she can't have her own lawyer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it
Crazy.
really bothers me. So whether you're a fan of Britney or not, like these are things that are symbolic, that also talk about like the five and the representation of a woman, of a generator
Yes.
woman who just wanted to work and have her satisfaction with her children and her work. But somehow the people around her said no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by the way, we were talking earlier about her supporting people in the past years, since because the ex-husband, who was a dancer and didn't have anything until he was with her, and then he tried to make a career in music but didn't work out because it just didn't. She paid him like $5 million in total with child support payments, so $5 million. And now that the kids are coming of age, so that the child support stops. The ex moved to Hawaii because there the law is to have the child support payments longer. So they moved to Hawaii in hopes that
Yeah.
they can trick. So it's just like they're still trying to squeeze as much out of her as possible. She was really a workhorse. That's like a super slave generator. And at least if she would have been allowed to do something that she liked all the time so that she can express her creativity. But
Yeah. Yeah,
yes.
I just noticed too, see her gate 14, that gate of
Mm-hmm.
resources is in line 3. So
Mm-hmm.
she's been bumping around trying to figure out, about all these resources that she has and trial and error and man. and the resilience and the adaptability. I mean, she really is a role model to a lot of the things that she has had to deal with, you know, and
Yes,
writing this book and getting it out there is
amazing.
amazing.
I'm very
I mean,
happy that
cheers to
she
her.
we could hear
Yeah.
her voice also, like in a
Yes.
coherent manner, and you can go from A to B, and also her answering a lot of things because she
Yeah.
did, before she like an open emotional center, she didn't want conflict. She didn't want to put down Justin Timberlake. She didn't want to say, actually he cheated on me 20 times. She just was
Right.
like, just I'll let it be. I don't want conflict. I just want to be left alone. Just
Yeah.
so
Yep.
now
Be the nice
finally,
Southern girl. Yeah.
yes.
Trying to manage her reputation.
Yes, yes, but now she just told, I'm sure there are other things that maybe didn't make it into the book, but it's already enough
Yeah.
to show.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm really glad that you mentioned it to me a couple of times because I was aware, when I first started studying human design, I went through right away and I looked at, particularly some of the artists, the comedians, the people that I really am drawn to, and so many of them are fifth lines, five ones
yes.
particularly. And so I knew she was a 5/1, and I'd seen that she wrote the autobiography too, but I just hadn't picked it up until you and your manifesting energy came along and initiated me to dive in. It was super fun. Super fun. I appreciate you
Yes, thank
telling me
you.
about it.
Yeah, like Britney is 2 years older than me, so I've known her since she was also like a teenager. So I followed her throughout her life, and I also didn't know things in the background because she didn't make them public. So, but now it's like everything falls into place and everything is
Yes.
clear. So, and I also enjoy talking to you about it from the human design perspective because it really illustrates the qualities of the fifth line, like the good things and also the less pleasant things about the fifth line. If you read that book, then you get like a master's, a PhD into
That's true.
a fifth line.
Yeah, I was astounded by, and that's the other thing about human design that I'm just always just like really just astounded by is that if we just listen to people, they are telling us or they're speaking their design. Like oftentimes you can just hear it. And yeah, so having the map and seeing what her design is and then reading it, it was just like everything just was popping and popping like popcorn. So yeah, it was great. It's great. It's fun, super fun.
So, do you do readings, Melissa? How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I was doing readings. I'm a certified analyst and I also did my professional training for the BG5 Institute. So I have those qualifications, but I recently just changed my website up because I have discovered that my incarnation cross is the cross of confrontation. And I am a 5/1. So I really am here for people in times of crisis and conflict. Well, most people don't, I mean, they might come to get a human design reading because they just want to learn a little bit about human design. They want to learn about themselves. Well, that's not really where you get the best from me. I mean, come to me with a crisis and tell me, like this, like reading this is a crisis autobiography. And I get lit up and I can show people where in your chart it's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not okay that you're going through a crisis, but the reality is that the chart doesn't lie, these are mechanical absolutes. And so, as Alakanon Diaz says, and my friends John and Amy say, that these are mechanical absolutes that are in this body graph. So I do have a link on my website. It's Empower Your Design, and you can reach out to me and get, have a session. And you don't have to be like in a big time crisis, but if you have questions, specific questions about your chart, or you want some insight into what's going on there, they can reach out to me that way. And yeah, it's fun for me to look at people's designs. So I welcome it.
I'm gonna include those details also in the description of the video. So thank you again for being here today. It was a blast talking to you about Britney's design. And yeah, if Britney's watching this, like we
Yeah.
support you.
Yeah. Reach out to me, Brittany. I'd love to talk to you. If I
Yes.
could meet her, would that be fantastic? Carmina and I would love to meet you.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Bye.